I want to do as one of the sponsors is to bring together something that is not technology related at the end of the event. You know, because we're all stressed in our lives, you know, and this is just something that reminds us that we're all humble. And a friend of mine from Minnesota, don't make fun of him, he does speak funny, is going to speak to you about one of his journeys. His name is Kevin Burkart. And I promise if you put your phone down for 20 minutes.
That's hard.
I know it's hard. But really, if you guys for 20 minutes just could put your phones away, I guarantee you that you'll walk out of here. This will be something you'll remember. Okay? So with that, I'm going to introduce my friend, Kevin Burkart.
Thank you, Kevin. Great. My name is Kevin Burkart, and I skydive for Parkinson's disease. And I oftentimes start this presentation by asking if anyone is with law enforcement or the FAA. And when I was pulling up today, I saw the signs, and I haven't spoken at a law enforcement facility like this. But none of you are with law enforcement, right? No. Good. I like that. Are those slides going to stay up there? You doing okay? Let's see. Well, hopefully they'll stay up there. Mitch? Where's Mitch? Are you around? What do you think, sir? Technical difficulties at a technical conference. Yes. You go ahead and work on that, and I'll start. I don't know what to do. Yeah, it's a Mac. The last presenter had a Mac, too, so, wow. So, you've all had quite a day, 8 hours of technical content. This presentation is a gift. This doesn't relate to technology at all. And it's a gift from your organizational committee and a couple of sponsors. Thank you to Presidio and Dark Rhino for sponsoring me here. Connie Matthews? Is she around here somewhere? No? Okay. Well, thank you so much for the sponsors for having me. So the next hour, you know, in your careers, you've got these high-pressure careers, right? A lot of work talking to... What's that?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Oh, is it... Nope, clicker's working just fine. I think that's... Yeah, just fine. So it's okay. I don't know, for some reason it's just going on and off, huh? Should we try HDMI? Okay. I wonder why. Let's see. That's in there good.
That's all.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got another one too. No, shoot. I got another one that I can try. Hold on one second, everyone. Yeah, I've got another one.
Just another region.
I think I've got another one.
It's like really loose.
Got it. Okay.
What? Thunderbolt?
Yeah? Great. Yay! It's just in his pocket, ready to go.
That's perfect. No, this man gets a prize, I think.
Either USB 3 or DisplayPort.
Yeah, I think the DisplayPort. Thank you. Yeah. Let's give it a try. See if that switches over.
There we go.
Yeah?
All right.
Good.
Hopefully
it staying?
stays.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cross your fingers, everyone. Cross your
Yeah.
All right.
The best. Oh, no.
Hit the straw to slide.
Yeah. I can drive the slides, no problem. That's all right. We'll figure it out. So, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you to the sponsors, Presidio and Dark Rhino. My story starts July 31st, 1999, and it was a Saturday. I was an entrepreneur for about 20 years. I had a digital agency, graphic design, branding, website development, and design. And like all good entrepreneurs on a Saturday morning, I was in my office working. And I was late to meet some friends. We were putting our boats in the river and going down the river camping and water skiing for the weekend. But I had this overwhelming urge to call my father and tell him that I loved him. I hadn't connected with him much that summer, and I gave him a call, and I could tell he was emotional. So somehow, I don't know how that works, but that karma, something had carried through the ethos and compelled me to call him, and called him. Dad, how you doing? Just thinking about you. And he said, Kevin, it's fascinating that you would call, because yesterday I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. So that was 17, 18 years ago, and thus began our journey with Parkinson's. And the story that I'm going to share with you today is about my life and my dad's life and our journey with Parkinson's. And a tragedy occurred, an accident, and now I'm rebuilding on a new platform. And I originally put this presentation together 7 years ago. A friend had called and asked me to come to Istanbul, Turkey, to speak to 950 entrepreneurs. And I said, why do you want me to come and speak to that many, to all these people in Istanbul, Turkey, and pay that kind of freight? And he said, well, because we read an article that you had written, and I'm just going to read to you the first paragraph of that. It gives you a little bit of background as to why they contacted me. I said, my name's Kevin Burkart. I don't think I understand myself that well, but these things I do understand. I idle high. I'm selfish. I'm immature. I'm ferociously independent. I don't believe in teams. I like to be the center of attention. And those are my confessions. Now, I'm in a room full of overachievers, high performers, a lot of you very entrepreneurial. You may not have your own companies, but within the company that you work, you're asked to be very entrepreneurial, particularly in IT security, because you've got to be outwitting the competition, right? The folks that are trying to infiltrate your systems. And so a lot of that might hit home, is that that selfishness and that independence and trying to forge your own path. And the mantra that I live by is a great pleasure in life is doing things others say that you can't do. And with Parkinson's disease, my dad and I, we got involved and joined the board of directors and started going to all the seminars and conferences that we could, and meeting people that were in that same ecosystem that we were. Does anyone in the room have a connection to Parkinson's? Or MS? Or Huntington's? Or ataxia? You know, all those neurological diseases. I think if we're able to find a cure for one, I think we'll be able to cross-pollinate and probably find a cure for all of those. So I'm very involved in each of those diseases. Being involved in that ecosystem, surrounding yourself with others that are walking through that same journey with Parkinson's, was both a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that you had access to all of the information and the people and the doctors and folks that were going through the same thing. And so you had that ecosystem of support. The curse was, the downside of it is, you would see your good friend with Parkinson's go from an upright, healthy person to a cane, a walker, a wheelchair, and then eventual death as a result of the disease. And that, of course, then that hits home, right? Because you can see the path, you know the future, you know what's coming. So that's a difficult one. And my dad and I, the Parkinson's community would have the same golf tournament and walk every year that all the nonprofits have, right? I mean, everyone does a walk, everyone does a golf tournament. And I really, from year to year, I just got tired of deciding what color the t-shirt was for the next event. I just didn't care. I wanted to do something different. And I owned a creative agency, And my thought was, I'll share with you in just a bit, about the time that Dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's, I started skydiving. About that same time, I'm a professional skydiver. I've got 3,000 skydives under my belt. I did four-way competition skydiving, you can see in the upper left there. And no one's, I think people have a hard time understanding how you compete in skydiving, so I added this video. Let's see how this works. This was at U.S. Nationals Championships in 2006. And our four-way team there, we're from the Midwest, so we had a hard time competing against other teams from California, Florida, Arizona that would be able to practice all year round, right? I'm in the red in the back there. Bill, our team captain in the green, has got the count there. It's ready, set, go. We come out of the airplane at 13,000 feet. We're falling at 120 miles an hour. We have 35 seconds from the time we leave the airplane to turn as many points or as many formations as we can. There's 51 different formations that we practice. We have to practice. We have to be able to fly them. This is the science or the art of human flight. And in 35 seconds, we can do about 16 formations. This particular jump was the number 1 jump in the country at the time. Not bad for a bunch of, hack skydivers from the Midwest. We about 4,000 feet, and then the skydive's over. We turn and break away from each other and get our own airspace so we can open up our canopies and not run into each other. So has anyone seen anything like that before? No? Hey, okay, yeah. So that's how you compete in skydiving. That's one way to compete in skydiving. And it's kind of a niche sport, I would say, similar to the careers that you've chosen in IT security. That's pretty niche. I also became a tandem skydiving instructor, and I couldn't believe that Joe Public would show up and plop down $200+ and trust me to fall out of an airplane with them attached to me and deliver them safely back to Earth. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. I also became a big way skydiver. There were these big way camps that we had around the world. That formation that you see there is 100 skydivers in a formation. We jump from 25,000 feet out of 5 airplanes, and we have bailout oxygen, and we have 96 seconds of free fall time to build that formation. And it's you have to be with a good group of skydivers to do something like that, for everybody to stay on the same level and follow the instructions for safety purposes, to both build and break that down, and then land pretty much at the same time too, back in the same area. And so I owned a creative agency, a digital agency, and I had an idea, and the idea was, could I do 100 skydives in a day to raise money and awareness for Parkinson's disease? And this is where it gets into that mantra of doing things others say you can't do, because of course the aeronautical community and my family and friends and the skydiving community said, you can't do 100 skydives in a day. And I was just like a kid whose parents had told him not to do something. I was on fire. I was going to figure out a way to do it. So I called the FAA and I said, what's a minimum altitude from which I can do a skydive? And they said 2,000 feet. Remember I told you a typical skydive is 13,000 feet? So I thought, 2,000 feet. Okay. I'll just go to 2,000 feet then. And a typical skydive, we'd like to have our canopy coming out at 3,000 feet. So 2,000 feet is quite, it's quite low. You're falling 1,000 feet every 5.8 seconds. So you're about 12 seconds from going splat. My dad's nickname for me was Splat. I didn't care for that very much, but that was a nickname that he had for me. And we really I wanted to break through the noise. And I don't care, I want you to think about your personal, your family, your business life. How do you break through the noise and do things others say you can't do? Or for your cause, your nonprofit, everybody's involved. Most people are certainly involved in charitable work. And if you've got that connection, just do something different. So I don't care if you're swimming the Mississippi River, or you're eating the most worms in a day, or you're getting the most people together at one time to snowshoe in the dead of winter on a frozen lake for a Guinness Book of World Records, whatever it is, just do something different and unique, right? So I thought, okay, I'm going to try and do 100 skydives in a day. Everybody told me I can't do it, so I figured out a way to do it using the mantra here that I can't do it. So the challenge was, I figured, how can I fall out of a plane every 5 minutes? And I was thinking that I'd be 2 minutes to altitude, and our junky old Cessnas at the drop zone, they're held together with duct tape and bubble gum, and I figured they could get me to altitude in a couple minutes, and then I would fall out. I'd have 2 airplanes working for me all day. I would have 2 minutes back to Earth, and that's pretty much, you're doing a hop and pop out of the airplane because you're at such a low altitude. You hop out of the plane and you pop the parachute as soon as you can because you got to get some nylon and some rope over your head to slow things down. And then 1 minute to change out. I had 6 identical rigs that I was using, and I put sponsor logos on the canopies and on the ground and signage and on my helmet and on my flight suit and on the airplane and oxygen therapy because the fumes from the airplane, they overwhelmed me quite a bit. I would get nauseous a lot during the day because those fumes from the airplane would just overwhelm me. I was good until I would get under canopy. Every 5 minutes or so I'd be under a new canopy, and then I would get sick. So I'd tend to throw up, and that was fine. I had an ambulance that was there, and I would go in the ambulance every now and then, and they'd hook up an IV, and they'd give me fluids, and their oxygen, it was better than mine. And then I'd have like a Snickers bar and a Subway sandwich or something, and away I'd go again. Ground crew, and then of course a lot of packers. I wasn't packing my own chutes. A typical packer can pack a chute in about 6 to 8 minutes. So they were ahead of me all day long with my 6 rigs, and they just did fantastic. Wonderful people. The skydiving community, probably like IT security, is a very close-knit, small group of people. All right? Everybody knows everybody, and we take care of each other. And when we have an opportunity like this to put a positive spin on the sport of skydiving, everybody really comes together for it, and they just take up the cause, even if they have no connection to Parkinson's disease at all. And I was amazed, like, one guy, one of my packers, his name was Matt, and of my skydives that I did, he packed almost a third of the rigs that I jumped, and they typically get like $6 a pack job, couple dollar tip, maybe $8 a pack job. And he came up to me at the end of the day, and he wouldn't take any pay, and he offered me $100 for Parkinson's, which is really nice because you can imagine a guy who packs parachutes at a drop zone for a living. He doesn't make any money. He lives at a little camper and at the drop zone there and stuff. And that was really it was very touching. So on June 4th, 2008, I did 100 skydives in one day, and I raised $48,000 for Parkinson's disease. You can clap now. There we go. And average jump time was 4 minutes and 56 seconds. And as a result of my efforts, the United States Parachute Association started a new record category, most number of skydives in 24 hours. And did we reach a new audience? Yeah, you bet. All the big stations were there. And of course, some knucklehead kid has fallen out of a plane 100 times in a day for his dad who has Parkinson's. It's an awfully good story. To have some of these programs, Today's Show and Good Morning America and all that, they fly their crews into a small airport in Minnesota, and it was really, really fun. So great to be on. And then, do y'all remember Paul Harvey, public radio? Yeah, and that's the whole story, or that's the rest of the story? Yeah, okay. He had me on. This is 2008. That was my favorite one because he had me on. This would have been about 5 months before he passed away, because he passed away that October, I think. So that was probably my favorite one. So I thought, okay, that went well. I got 100 in, and that was even with, I had a 7-hour weather hold. In the morning when we were ready to go at 5 a.m., it was really bad fog, and we couldn't fly. So even with the 7-hour weather hold, I was still able to get all those jumps in. And I thought, okay, let's go for 200 and do this again. And my challenge then was, well, how can I fall out of an airplane every 3 minutes? And the big change for me was to bring in a turbine engine aircraft, so a really fast airplane that frankly outflew both me and the pilot all day long. It was 45 seconds to altitude, so that's really, really fast. So that got my jump time down. I was shooting for that 3-minute jump time. 90 seconds back to Earth. Once I'm under the canopy, I grab a steering toggle as fast as I can, and I just yank it down to my hip and hold it. And I auger down as quick as I can back to the ground. Ground crew's waiting there for me, changing out rigs. They were getting quicker, oxygen therapy, ground crew, and a bunch of great packers, and I didn't make it. Dang. I only got to 150. But it was still, a 50% improvement, right? 150 skydives in a day on June 16th, 2010. I raised an additional $78,000 for Parkinson's disease. So pretty good money. And average jump time, I was close on that, 3 minutes and 18 seconds. And then we launched a full-length feature film, an independent documentary. And that came about, I was coaching a vertical wind tunnel camp in Colorado. Have you seen the vertical wind tunnels? They're getting all over. I mean, even on cruise ships now. And I was coaching it, and this little Irish guy, one of my students, comes up to me and says, "Hey, Kevin, I heard about what you're doing for Parkinson's disease, and I want to make a movie of it." And I said, "Well, why would you do that?" And he said, "Well, I'm getting into skydiving, and I own a film production company, and my mom in Northern Ireland has Parkinson's disease." So that spirit of mutuality, right? So he put together a movie, and I'm just going to show you the trailer for it. It's about 4 minutes long, and I'm a classic motivational speaker. I promise inspiration, that's it. I don't promise any takeaways. I mean, how many speakers have you seen all over the world that promise a bunch of takeaways? And how many of those takeaways do you really have with you, that go with you, right? So I don't even get into the takeaway business. I just get into inspiration. And this movie, if this doesn't inspire you, just this little trailer here, then I don't know what will. We'll give it a try here. You hear that okay? Okay.
Skydiving and how bizarre it is. And I'm really excited to do it. Well, with our team, we're going to video connect to the table and create a real promotion for Parkinson's disease with something this new.
Not supposed to jump in the clouds. No one's with the FAA, right?
Found out that my dad had Parkinson's disease June of. For some reason, I had this overwhelming urge to call my dad and tell him that I loved him. So I called him up and I told him, I said, "I want to call and tell you that I love you. I don't know what's going on, but I just had this feeling and stuff." And he said, "You know, Kevin, it's really amazing. Yesterday, Friday, I was in to see a doctor, and I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease."
There was no question that it drew us together to learn more about the subject and the challenges that I faced.
You know, of course, the first reaction, that's really sad. That's a really sad story to hear. Especially someone like my dad who worked so hard throughout his life. Retirement gets diagnosed with something like Parkinson's disease.
Well, I think it's necessary because there's opportunities like that that will change people's lives. If we can get that awareness out there, it makes a big difference. It needs to be done.
There's so many people that are living with Parkinson's disease that I don't think prevalent of a disease it is. So just to bring awareness to the disease will hopefully make people want to give more money to research and donate more money to research, more aware that it's actually out there.
Just being able to share and knowing that someone else understands what you're going through.
More people have come out who have Parkinson's this year and are so appreciative of what Kevin's doing. I think it's amazing.
I think it's a really creative way to get the message out to this, and that the emotional, physical effort and preparation that Kevin's done is incredible. And just the group that's supporting him here today is really.
Looks like we're going to be doing some night jumps, so it's going to be my guess. We'll finish in the dark. That's okay. I'm not afraid of the dark. Do everything you can to live fullest. You know, we all say that. It sounds cliche, but it's true because you never know what tomorrow holds for you and what stage of life you in. So it's really that feeling of don't give up. And my dad and I have always felt that. Just don't give up. You know, this doesn't.
This doesn't have to destroy us if we don't want it to. We can make the decision on that. Yeah, that's a good shot. I like that. Not too many people get to jump with a crescent moon like that behind them. That's pretty. Let's see. I didn't get to the 200, so I figured that was just an unlucky number, and I might as well go just past that and try for 300. And so I called it the final tribute because it was the last time that I was going to go to that well of support from the skydiving community to do an event like this, because it takes an awful lot for both the drop zone and all of our personnel and staff and pilots, and they put themselves at a lot of risk. I have the easy part. I just fall out of the airplane all day long, and at night I only have to take off. I don't have to land in that airplane, and it's very difficult and dangerous. So I figured, okay, we'll do it one more time. So I'll call it the final tribute and go for 300 perfect jumps for Parkinson's disease. And June 19th, 2012, I had $95,000 raised for that event, which was really terrific. I was very excited about it, but something happened, and that something was this. Just a few months before the event, I had a snowmobile accident. It was a head-on collision in northern Minnesota, right on the Canadian border. I was leading a group of snowmobiles, and there was another group coming the other way, and a young man on a borrowed snowmobile was on the left side of the trail. And at the apex of the hill, we had a head-on collision. So I was on the black snowmobile there to the right, and he was on the white snowmobile. So he was turning to get back to the right. I impacted his kind of front quarter panel there. His snowmobile rotated. At the point of impact, I had a riser package on my steering column, so I turned and went into that, and it shattered everything on this side. My clavicle was in a few pieces. The scapula was in a few pieces. Scapula is the hardest bone to break, and I broke 4 vertebrae in my neck. And I'm really fortunate because all of that healed just wonderfully. What happened immediately after the impact is what would affect my life forever. He came off of his snowmobile and came over the hood of my snowmobile and went through my head, right there. And when he went through my head, that caused what's called a brachial plexus injury. Has anyone here heard of a brachial plexus injury? No, the brachial plexus is the nerve package that runs your arms. It comes off the spinal cord. It's C5, 6, 7, 8, and T1. And when you have a brachial plexus injury, it's common to motorcycle accidents and snowmobile accidents. High impact, high trauma, and the nerves are avulsed from the spinal cord. And when you have an avulsion, that means the nerve root and all is plucked from the spinal cord. So it's game over. You can't plug them back in. That's too Avatar-like. We haven't figured out how to do that. And you're also going to be cursed with significant neuropathic phantom pain for the rest of your life. There's nothing that they can do that they figured out that'll help with this neuropathic phantom pain that results from it, because at the injury zone on the spinal cord, it's constantly looking for those nerves and something to do what it did before, right? Moving the arm, and that possibility isn't there, so your spinal cord is stuck in that point of injury. So that's a very difficult diagnosis. You can imagine I was a successful entrepreneur, had a wonderful company, great group of employees. I was a skydiving instructor, a scuba instructor, a snowboard instructor, and a water ski instructor. And I was traveling the world having a lot of fun. I had a beautiful home in Fort Myers with a private lake and ski course in the backyard. I had a beautiful home on a lake in Minnesota, and skied every morning with my buddies. And all of that was falling apart right in front of me. A significant amount of pain, and the permanent loss of the use of my arm. I'm permanently paralyzed in my left arm, so it just hangs there dead. I can't I can't feel anything just below the shoulder, and so that's what I've got. And I had this active lifestyle, so I was in really bad shape, as you might imagine. I had my girlfriend Laura take this picture at 2:30 in the morning on this May 30th. And it's because I was suicidal. I wanted to eat a shotgun. And everybody knew it. Medical community, my family, my brother had to come and get my guns and get them out of the house, because in the morning I would wake up and I would look at this, what I had worked so hard for, all the trappings, right? The ski boat, the wakeboard boat, the pontoon, the jet skis and everything. I watched my buddies go by and water ski, and here I am, paralyzed in my left arm for the rest of my life with a tremendous amount of pain. And I was right in the thick of the opioid epidemic that is running rampant in this country right now. And I've been through 4 withdrawals from the opioids, and I won't go back on them again. I was in an absolute narcotic haze. I couldn't sleep. I had this terrible pain. I would usually roll out of bed about 5 in the morning and just simply stand in the hot shower and let the hot water flow over the shoulder. So break down this picture. If you can get past the pity party going on in my face here, look at the left. There's a subluxation right there in the shoulder. There's no nerves to hold the arm in socket. So the arm is hanging out of socket about 2 inches lower than the right arm. You can see that? And then all the redness here in my skin is just subcutaneous nerve firings, because it just doesn't know what's going on, right? The body. So I'm in a difficult situation here trying to figure out, where am I going? Am I going to amputate the arm and get rid of it? That's not going to help my pain. I'm still going to have pain. I could even have worse pain. It doesn't help. And I don't have the shoulder girdle to support, what's it called? A prosthetic, right? I don't have the shoulder girdle or the nerves to run it. A soldier from Iraq or Afghanistan, if they get their arm blown off, they still have the nerves coming from the spinal cord to that general area. They can run a prosthetic, and they have a shoulder girdle that'll support that. And I don't. So this very rare injury is, you can't do much about it. The Mayo Clinic, I contacted them. They have the only brachial plexus injury team in the world. And they said, well, come on down, we'll take a look at everything. And they said, okay, here's what we can do for you. We can take the gracilis muscle from the inside right thigh, and we can put that into your arm, so it's like a false bicep. We'll attach it to the clavicle and just below the elbow. And then we're going to use your sural nerves from the back of your calves, the length of your legs. We're going to use those nerves to connect that false bicep to your intercostal nerves from your chest, from your lungs. So we're going to fillet those out, and we're going to put all that together. It's going to be $250,000. It's going to be 3 surgeons for 9 hours. You're going to have 6 pints of stranger blood in you after you get done. So 60% of your blood will be stranger blood. And you have 1,000 stitches in you. But, you know, you're relatively young. You're healthy. You've got the means. We'd recommend you do it, because what you're going to get is a little bit of elbow flexion out of it, and you're going to start to get some of your shoulder back. And I said, well, all right, I'll try it. So I went through it, did all that. That was my dad. Did this, got an infection in the right leg, so I almost lost the right leg. How many of you know somebody or yourself who have gotten an infection from a hospital? Or so, yeah, look at these numbers. Every time I speak, I ask this, and you know what the hospitals all say? Our rate of infection is less than 1%. Was that 1%? No, I think that's bupkis. I don't believe these hospitals. The Mayo Clinic, so anyways, I got the whatever that stuff is called that starts eating up your leg, and so you go on the broad spectrum antibiotics for a while, and you spend another week in the hospital looking at beautiful blue sky out there, and makes for a difficult situation. So from that surgery, then I got to show you. So this is what I got from the surgery. Are you ready? I got to show off now. So I activate that muscle. Remember, it's running off the nerves from my lungs. So I pierce my lips and breathe out. And I can do that. How about that? Huh? Is that cool? Yeah. All right. That's crazy, huh? And so I tried, for pain, I tried a spinal cord stimulator implant. That didn't work, unfortunately. I tried this DRES surgery out of Duke University. They go in and they essentially go into your vertebrae and into the spinal cord. They peel back the dura that protects your spinal cord, and they zap your injury zone, trying to kill all the ganglia, the nerves that are looking for messages and something to do. And they kill that with a high-end medical soldering iron. And unfortunately, that didn't work. I was really hopeful on that, and it left my dura quite weak on my spinal cord. So now, if I fall or I have like the other day, I was out cross-country skiing and I fell. And then the next day it was really bad, and it's because my pain was bad because the dura starts to leak. So you leak cerebral spinal cord fluid, and I don't know how that creates worse pain, but it just gets like lightning strikes. So anyways, I tried that, and that's the dura leaking, so they have to go back in there and clean it up. They fused my wrist. They put a plate in there, so it's a little more of a tool, right? I can, it doesn't flop around, and that's really nice. And it's incredible that little piece of metal there. That's like a $1,600 piece of metal. That's our I don't know why a little plate like that is that much, but whatever. Yeah, so not too attractive now, is it? But I'm still here, right? And I'm trying to make a difference. I mean, obviously I lived through this. I really did want to off myself, and with the opioids and that just disaster of a time of life, it was very difficult. So how do you get through that? I'm still here. How do you get through that? And I'm going to suggest a few things to you. Ingenuity, right, is you find a way to work around the problem. And I was surrounded by a lot of good friends that just said, Kevin, you got to get back in the saddle. You have to create ways that will enable you to do what you enjoy doing. And then the spirit of mutuality, and you find people around you that are similar. And I got to stop and brag for just a moment about this picture. Because any of you skydivers? Yeah. And like a regular skydiver, a tandem? You've done a tandem? Or used to do a long time ago? Anybody done a tandem? Yeah, you're a skydiver then for sure. If you're brave enough to fall out of an airplane like that, that's terrific. So really good. I have to brag about this. So look at the opening position. I've got the de Havilland Twin Otter in the background, a wonderful jump ship. Body position is perfect. Lines are clean and straight, and the canopy is opening symmetrically. That's a badass skydiving photo right there. So peer-to-peer, I encourage you, like you're doing here today. For me, it was peer-to-peer, the entrepreneurs in my life that challenged me to make what you needed to enable yourself to do the stuff that you still wanted to do. And you're all doing that. You're surrounding yourself with peers. And you share that information. And I say, why peer-to-peer? Well, I think of like careers and businesses and ideas that you have. You kind of have this emotional sine wave that you go through. On the way up, it's uninformed optimism. You don't really know the lay of the land, but you're excited about it, right? And then on the way down, you've got informed pessimism. Now you're getting the lay of the land, and it's not what you thought, right? And this is applicable to anything, your family, personal business, career, whatever it is. And then at the bottom, you've got crisis of meaning. And that's the wings have fallen off, the engine's on fire, things are not going well. How do you come out of that? Instead of crashing and burning, how do you come out of that to informed optimism? And I think it's peer-to-peer, it's relevant experience. And other peers are who is going to have that relevant experience. You don't need advice. Advice is from people that haven't done it, right? Relevant experience is what you need. Someone who's actually been through what you've been through. And it's applicable to all of those. Autonomy, mastery, and purpose, that's what you want to shoot for. So for me, it was the Parkinsons and the skydiving community, and my family and friends that were there for me. My sponsors were there for me. And I figured I can still scuba dive. I can still motorcycle. I had to get rid of the big bike that had two wheels. I went to one of these Can-Am jobbers with the two wheels in the front, and then I digitized everything to run off the right hand. And then I found I cross-country ski a lot, and my dad's Parkinson's support group in Wisconsin, a couple that was in there, their son was born without his right arm, this John Oman here, and he happened to be a really good cross-country skier. So I started cross-country skiing with him, which is great. And you don't expect to see one-armed cross-country skier go by, right? Much less two one-armed cross-country skiers go by. And John he was super good. He ended up, he trained for at the Paralympics. He went to the Paralympics in Sochi, which was really awesome. Let me tell you why. Selfishly, it was awesome because so he got flown over there. They do the charter jet with all the Paralympic, the athletes and stuff, and they happened to land in Germany to get all of their equipment and apparel and everything. So he got all the Olympic apparel. Well, you'll notice that he doesn't have his right arm because he was born without it, and I don't have the functionality of my left arm, and I designed this sport harness that holds my left arm in place. I couldn't find anything in the medical industry that would hold my arm. I'll try and do this without hitting my microphone. That would hold my arm across my body and hold it up in socket. I couldn't find anything in the medical industry that would do that. And I tried a bunch of different harnesses and there was nothing. So I just had a seamstress, a tailor, put this together for me. So it straps all the way around my body and is held with Velcro here. And then the shoulder straps too that Velcro over the shoulder. So that held my left arm in place. So I left my right arm free. And the harnesses just worked terrific. Now back to the John part. So John, because he doesn't have his right arm and I don't use my left arm, we exchange gloves. So I get all of his gloves. I got the Olympic gloves and I just love it. It's great. I still water ski. This is my first time up surfing with one arm. I have my sport harness on. I wear the Titanic life jacket because I couldn't figure out a way to get a regular vest one on. And then I still do triathlons too. Now this is funny, the triathlon part. Oh, and I still, I ski jor with my dog, Luna there. That was a contest that we just had. So she's so cute, I had to put a second picture in. She's great. So the triathlon part, I use my scuba mask and a snorkel on the course. And it's funny lining up on the beach with all the other triathletes because you can hear them start to whisper. They see me with, I got the sport harness on, I got the mask and the snorkel, and you can hear them start to talk, better not lose to the one-arm guy, right? Which is true. And they do. They lose because I was a really good triathlete before and I'm just fine with one arm. And the race directors are so gracious because, I mean, of course, I'm not going to podium, right? I'm doing this with one arm. So, hey, can I use the mask and snorkel? Otherwise, I can't get my head above water to breathe. Like, yeah, of course you can. And then people ask me like, well, how do you go out and swim like in a straight line? And I said, well, I don't because I just have the right fin. I just go out and I swim in a circle and they just measure the distance of my circles. I'm kidding. They don't. I swim. You just pull it through your body like that. It works. I can carry a straight line pretty good when I'm swimming. So, and then I just modified my bike, the tri-bike, to operate just off my right hand. And then I designed for my water skiing in the morning with my buddies. What I did was I created a harness that goes behind my shoulders, and then I got nylon webbing that comes out with a little PVC cap on the end. And that PVC cap, that little white cap right there, that goes, I took the ski rope and I drilled a hole in the handle and I just moved the attachment point over a few inches so I have this sticking out like a pole sticking out the side. My PVC cap goes over the end of that. So if I fall, I let go and it turns and the PVC cap pops off and it's game on. So it's slalom ski and do the course and everything. It's just terrific. And still snowboard and everything. And I knew that I would be coming to speak to groups like this, so I had to do. Oh, and I spearfish too a lot. Scuba dive and spearfish down in Fort Myers where I've got my home and a boat and it's just terrific. That's a big hogfish. Anybody recognize that? Those are tasty. So I had to do this. So OneArm Skydiving, August 4th. This is my first time doing this and welcome to asymmetrical flight. This is skydiving with one arm. If you thought doing 100 skydives in a day was crazy or 150, this is really stupid. To skydive with one arm. The problem is not the free fall. As a competitive skydiver, I knew I could fly my body no problem with one arm, one leg, no arms. I could do all that because I can use the air surfaces of the rest of my body to keep myself straight. The problem is what do you do when you're under canopy by yourself? You get the canopy out and now you've got to land it with one arm and steer it. So my idea was I'm going to take a carabiner with me. And when the canopy opens, I'm going to connect the steering toggles together using a carabiner. I'm going to steer from the middle. Attach them together, steer from the middle. Push right, I'm going to go left. Push left, I'm going to go right. It's the opposite of what I'm used to, but I'll figure it out. Otherwise, I'll die. I mean, it's significant motivation, right? I'll figure it out. What the hell? And then to land it, you got to flare it all the way down to your groin. So I got to get my arm around the front of the webbing, follow the line down to the middle. I got to have my arm in the front of my risers, is what they're called, that come off your shoulder, to be able to flare all the way down here. You can't, if I'm behind the risers, I can't flare. I can't get it past my shoulder, right? So, success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. I mean, talk about your job, right? I mean, that's, with IT security, you've got to figure out a way to go from failure to success and just keep going and try not to lose your enthusiasm for the project. And you keep going until you solve the problem. I also It worked. Thank you. It worked. I lived. So I thought, well, I should try tandem then as well, right? And so I re-rigged the tandem rigs and took friends up. Now, this was frowned upon in the skydiving industry. And it's not commercially viable, right? Because who wants to be the person that shows up at the drop zone, plops down $225 to go for a tandem, and they say, yeah, you're with the one-arm guy in the corner. Yeah, it doesn't go over well, right? You'd say, am I being punked? Where's Ashton Kutcher? What's this? Not funny, right? But it worked. But it's not commercially viable. You can't do it. There's the mantra. So we rebranded because remember, I still had, this is a brand evolution, right? Imperfect jumps now, asymmetrical flight. I had raised $100,000, but I hadn't done the jumps yet. It was my third event, and I still had a commitment to those Parkinson's folks. So I thought, all right, what the heck? Let's just rebrand and call it Imperfect Jumps for Parkinson's Disease. We won't put a number on it, and we'll just see what I can do. I mean, maybe I just do 2 in a day. Who cares? It's a world record, right? I mean, no one else is doing it, so what the hell? So June 19th, 2013, a OneArm Skydiver's world record event for his father. How can I fall out of a plane every 4 minutes with only one arm? And same setup as 200 perfect jumps, but with these modifications. A lot of carabiners with me. I carried them on my leg here to have extras. There it is, holding the steering toggles together. If I dropped one, I wanted to be sure that I had a spare. A stirrup. I stole the stirrup idea from our military jumpers. High altitude, high opening. When they're under a canopy at 35,000 feet, they don't want to use their arms to steer all the way down. So they drop down stirrups and they steer with their feet. Genius. So I went into my rigger, Mark Bauer, this old curmudgeon, crusty old guy at the drop zone. I'm like, Mark, here's what I want. I want 1 inch wide nylon webbing. I want it 41 inches long. And I know that just because I stood like this and did the measurement. And I want to be able to, I'm going to put it over my toe, so I need a loop at the end, and it needs to self-stow into Velcro on the left steering toggle. So once I get the carabiner and the steering toggles together, then I can drop it down. I'll put it on my right toe, I'll kick that out to the side, and I'll auger down really fast. So I can do jump. So he designed it for me, put it together, did it for all the 6 rigs. And when he first came up to me and handed it to me, he said, here you go, Kevin, death on a stick. Now what you want to hear from your rigger, right? He was the same one in 2002 when I did my first OneArm Skydive, and I had to rig the equipment up to, because I had to go to what's called an SOS system, single handle operating system for emergency procedures. Typically it's 2 handles. Well, I don't have 2 hands. So I want to be able to jettison the main canopy and go to the reserve with 1 handle. So I designed that for myself and had him rig all that up. And he typically wasn't that helpful of a guy, but this he was really helpful with. I said, Mark, why are you being so helpful with me? I mean, frankly, I've been jumping out here for 12 years, and he just wasn't that nice of a guy, and didn't help much. And he said, Kevin, I'm helping you because the outcome is unknown. Yeah. Right, you don't want to hear that from your rigger. I mean, that's not a confidence booster, is it? Like, oh, shoot, I didn't want to hear that either, but okay. Oh, and then let me just go through the rest of these real quick. Oh, let's see if I can go back. Did I screw it up? There we go. A hook knife, because sometimes when I would do that auger with the stirrup that would come down, sometimes I couldn't stop the canopy from spiraling down just by bringing it in. There was something about the aerodynamics there and the attachment point, whatever. So I wanted to have a hook knife with me along so I could cut that nylon webbing, which I had to do sometimes. Firmed up the steering toggle so I had a better target, and then custom suit. My arm comes around, there's a bunch of Velcro here and redundant straps. There's a strap coming over here, and then there's a buckle that comes around the side. So my ground crew would hook all that up for me because we had to keep that arm in, because if the arm gets out in the breeze, if it's detached and it flops out into the breeze at 120 miles an hour, it's going to go up, and I can't go beyond 90 degrees like this or I'll yank out the intercostal nerves from my lungs. That would be bad. All right. So I don't have time for, I was going to take it along on one perfect jump, but on June 19, 2013, I did 151 world record breaking skydives in one day, and I raised an additional $100 for Parkinson's disease. Thanks. You can see I still do demo jumps. I still bring along my flag with me. Sometimes we would have veterans out that have Parkinson's. The day is really about Parkinson's. Every jump that I do is in honor of or in memory of someone affected by Parkinson's. And we have a professional announcer that reads those stories off all day long and projects the stories up. So it's very humanized. And we have all the Parkinson's folks come out to the drop zone and they watch and they enjoy, and we have great crowds and have a lot of fun. We have the kids jump for Parkinson's disease, where we take kids up and throw them out of the airplane. No, we don't do that. We let them, we have the bouncy castle, and we let them drop a skydiver toy off of then they do a coloring contest, whatever. I don't know. All the kids, they have a great time. And my average jump time then was 4 minutes and 7 seconds for that. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe I should put a number to it. And I still had that commitment for 300 skydives. Maybe I should try that. So we rebranded 300 imperfect jumps for Parkinson's disease. This is kind of the new Parkinson's Foundation logo, so we incorporated that. Wednesday, June 15th, 2016, I'll start at 12:01 a.m. So the middle of the night, I get construction lighting, like road construction, those big floodlights. I get those donated. They bring them out to the drop zone. We just have a grass airstrip. It's a very humble drop zone. Grass airstrip, and we just put those along the strip so I can jump all night if I want to. So we did that Wednesday, June 15th, but the weather was terrible. It was a very difficult day, but I did 101 OneArm Skydives in one day and raised an additional $138,000 for Parkinson's, and my average jump time got down to 3 minutes and 37 seconds per jump. So that's door to door of the airplane all day long when it's jumpable. So that brought our total to $500,000 for Parkinson's. And did we reach a new audience? Yeah, you bet. It was really neat to have some of those New York studios send their private jet out with their camera crews to the middle of, this happens to be at a drop zone in Wisconsin, just east of St. Paul, Minnesota. And to have them come out and cover us was just terrific. So remember I promised no takeaways? I lied. I've got some takeaways for you. The greatest story ever told, anybody know what it is? Any guesses? It's a trick question. It's your story. Your story. Each and every one of you, right? And you're scribing that story today. When you look back 10 years, is there anything that you regret not doing? I want to make sure that in 10 years you don't look back again and have that regret. If there's something that you want to do, go out and do it. Especially if people tell you can't. If people tell you can't do it, that's even more reason to figure out a way to do it. A passive life will never become a meaningful life. You notice these gentlemen. Tommy Ferguson, he's from Pueblo, Colorado. He doesn't have his left arm. And Mitch Smith, he's from Sydney, Australia. He doesn't have his right arm. These gentlemen flew in for my skydiving event. Can you guess why? Anybody? Yeah. And they had contacted me before this. And they said, Kevin, I have one arm. I would like to learn how to skydive with one arm. Can I do it? And I got them there. And they became skydivers with one arm. That's a meaningful life, isn't it? Oops. I get there? Yep, there we go. Escape the logic of fear. That's me diving with some sharks in French Polynesia. Escape the logic of fear in everything that you do. Fear is logical. Don't live your life logically. Live it illogically. Make a list every year. This is one of those few takeaways that I've gotten from speakers over the year. And what it is a little laminated square. There's a gentleman named Frank Dodge. He made the circuit in EO. Did you ever see him speak, Kevin? No. EO is Entrepreneurs Organization. We get these speakers that come in all the time. And, so a little laminated piece like this carried in your pocket all year long. I don't know how it happens, but these goals that you put on here, you just end up doing them. And you want to make sure that they're measurable, right? SMART goals, measurable, attainable. So I have personal and business. So here's personal. No more desserts, single servings, no more swearing. Grateful for Laura, and win the November election. I'm an elected official. Simple. They're measurable, right? And every day you look at them and you put them in your pocket. You just keep them in your closet, right? Grab them out of the drawer in the closet and put them in your pocket. For business, $5 million in sales, 20% bottom line, 100% employee retention. Engage each employee each day. Measurable, simple, they're there. I don't know how it works, but somehow it happens. Okay? That's an idea for you. And you can do them for your family too. Have your kids do them for a year, right? Like, what do you want to attain at school? What do you want to do in sports or whatever? YouTube, if you want to get your phones out, take a picture of this. Robin Sharma, anyone follow him on YouTube? No, he's really good. South African guy. How to wake up early. This is how I was successful. I had my digital agency for 20 years. I was a 5 a.m. guy. 5 a.m. at my desk, because 8 a.m. everyone else would come in and we'd start collaborating, right? So it's difficult to get my own work done. So be it in a company working for someone or with your own company or your own idea or whatever, the 5 to 8 a.m. club, it's fascinating to study it, and Robin does a really good study of it. There's a lot of people that do it, and it's a prime time for your brain. So it's something to think about. And then his powerful tips for a successful new year. That's really, really good one too. the world belongs to those who show up, and I really appreciate all of you showing up today. And it just making me feel welcome. It's really an honor to be with all of you and have the opportunity. You're very gracious with your time and listening to me. I did get married July 10th, 2016. I'm a little late to all this. I know I had a company and I was traveling the world doing a lot of fun things. I didn't take time for marriage. I finally took time for it. I'm very fortunate. I got married to Laura not even 2 years ago. We're expecting our first child, September 4th, coming up, so that's great. Yeah. Really excited. A quick story on this car here. Talk about doing things others say you can't do. That 1959 Pontiac Catalina was bought brand new by my grandparents in the fall of ~58 in Billings, Montana. My brother and dad and I took it from our grandma. We traded our Chevy Impala to her in 1980, and we refurbished it top to bottom. Then in 1999, when my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's, he was retiring to a lake lot in Wisconsin, and he was very worried about money. And at that time, neither my brother or I had any money to buy that car for my dad, so he sold it. And that was very unfortunate. Being a successful business person, I have resources that I can do really stupid shit with. So the stupid thing I did was I hired a private investigator to go find that car. And we found the car in a barn in Indiana. And 3 days later, it was back in Minnesota with me. The guy I bought it from was looking to sell it anyways. It was perfect, and he had bought it from my dad. He'd only put 500 miles on it. He only used it for a year, but he had it for 10 years, 12 years, something like that. So it was just terrific. So anyways, I ran for office. I covered it with graphics and ran for office. Medicinal marijuana. I'm the first elected official in Minnesota to have done medicinal marijuana in the first Mayo Clinic patient. I think it's fascinating. I can travel now. Sometimes I actually take one in front of a crowd, but I tried it for a couple months, but it didn't really work for the pain, so I don't do it because I don't like the lack of control. There's me getting sworn in for office, and then Monday, June 15th, 2017, last year, my father passed away. Age 76, 18 years with PD. He passed away with honors, had a military funeral. He was a Navy man. And he was just a terrific man, and we had a good life together. So, how many of you would like to see my landing from my first OneArm Skydive? This is the first time that I've done this. This is it. So I'm coming in, and of course everybody's out there to see what happens because the outcome is unknown, right? Remember from my rigger, right? Never seen this before. Don't know what's going to happen. I got the building to the right, hot airplane to the left, and how about that for a land? Not bad. Twinkle toes, huh? Yeah. That's a great day in my life that my arm was able to stay in. It didn't explode out and hurt anybody, and I was able to fly and get the canopy out and land. And I mean, kisses from the girls. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? Oh, sure, another one, yeah. And my friends and my skydiving team, they were just crying. They couldn't believe it. So that was just great. So a Nelson Mandela quote I've stood in his prison cell on Robben Island off of Cape Town in South Africa. It always seems impossible until it's done. I challenge you to do one thing this week that scares you. Thank you to my sponsors again, Presidio and Dark Rhino, for having me. My name is Kevin Burkart. Today I'm with the BSides in Columbus, Ohio, and I still skydive for Parkinson's disease. Thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks.